Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the episode 12 of the On the Brink show. And I am back for another recap on weekly events with Jason Meyers, lead architect at Auditchain. How you doing, Jason?
Hi, Yoli.
Why don't we just, the ongoing saga of SBF, your feedback on the most recent interview with Andrew Sorkin. What were your thoughts?
He was also on with George Stephanopoulos, right?
Yes, it
Good
sounds like
Morning
he's
America,
doing
I think
he's
it
doing the
was.
rounds. Yeah.
Look, he says his attorneys have advised him not to talk. I don't believe that for a second.
So do you think this is part of some sort of
This is part of some sort of duping of the public. The public is getting their chance to cross-examine him. He was on Twitter Spaces last night.
yeah.
These guys were grilling him. I mean, they were just grilling him, right? So if he were in a courtroom, he has been deposed for the last 72 hours straight,
Right.
right? And he's admitting to all of this stuff. How he's not in a jail cell right now leads me to believe that that guy will never see the inside of a courtroom or a jail cell. Nobody's heard from nobody who had money on that platform that got trapped.
Yeah.
Heard from any of them. There's been no press covering any of them. I know Andrew Ross Sorkin read a letter from one of them who apparently lost his life savings.
Yes.
But nobody's heard from any of them. I haven't heard, right? Maybe they have, but they're not getting any press.
Do you think that there's some sort of collusion because there was so many folks involved and they don't want to
Like so many
expose,
politicians, you mean,
perhaps,
who were purchased by him?
perhaps, perhaps.
Um, sure. I mean, look, my kids now know that crime pays very well, and you can get away with anything. If you steal candy, you're going to jail. You steal 10 billion, you're exalted as a god and a hero by the media.
No, it's because of the other people involved. That's what I believe. What did you think of his explanation of why why he had sent them, money to Alameda? Or
There
it's
is
almost
no
like,
explanation. There's what we know as an industry who have been in the world of corporate controls, and then there is this thing that he's telling the world.
yeah,
He's gaining. I'm telling you, they are polling public opinion. Even Bill Ackman came out, and Kevin O'Leary said that
yes.
he's telling the truth.
I think
This
it's
is
because
some
they're
sort of
involved.
this is a campaign of some sort of the 1950 style communist brainwashing, whatever it is. I don't know, but that's the way it feels. I don't think I'm stupid, but those politicians, they don't think people are stupid. They know that people are stupid.
Yeah. I think he's doing I messed up. I was just a young, CEO. And then the Bill Ackmans are like, yeah, we think he's doing, I mean, I don't know if anybody else would be able to get away with it, but there's something about his background and the story he was able to tell that's convinced people.
You know what? The last 72 hours, the only thing I can keep thinking of, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. There was a movie released in 1992 called Natural Born Killers by Oliver Stone with Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis
Mm-hmm.
and Tom Sizemore, and Robert Downey Jr. was the journalist interviewing, what's his name?
Woody Harrelson.
Mickey Knox, right? In
Mm-hmm.
jail.
Right.
And it became this whole national attention on it, right? This is what it reminded me of. So If you haven't seen Natural Born Killers, it's the best cinematography, it's the best soundtrack, and it's an incredible cast. Tommy Lee Jones is the warden of the prison. It's fantastic. It's a cult movie. But
Yeah.
this is what's going through my mind. It's like I'm watching Andrew Ross Sorkin. I'm watching George Stephanopoulos ask questions, right?
Right.
And I feel like he's already in jail almost answering these questions. He's answering questions as if he is in jail and has been convicted. Because you can't get, you can't get convicted for this. You can say everything you want once you've been convicted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
Well, maybe we're the dumb ones.
We are. Oh, there's
There's a
no
big
question in my mind. We are the dumbest people on the face of the earth.
there's
And
a
there's a
big
lot of us. There's 99% of the population is that way. And we are part of it.
Yeah. They're just like
But anyway, so
but we have some big news at Auditchain. Why don't we talk about, some of the validations that we have recently done? You recently posted a post about some reports that were run through the Pacioli system. Do you want to share some of your thoughts on that?
yeah, we've got a wonderful community. They remind me of the original 10 during the first 1,000 Bitcoin blocks, right? They We have an app that allows them to submit for analysis financial statements that were filed with regulators already. And our Pacioli node is able to read, digest, and output an analysis of a financial statement. And basically, it's a proof of state network, right? So it illustrates failures across 9 different categories of controls, right? And what we did was it's still on testnet. It's not live, but we're getting very, very close. And it's a visualization of this subset of companies that filed financial reports as of September 30th, 2022. And
Do you want to
it's
share
not
your
a good
screen,
look. It's
maybe?
not a good, yeah, it's not a good look.
And the number is pretty significant. I think this was over 3,000 organizations, right?
Yes, and over 35% of them violated basic fundamental accounting concepts, along with a few other things. But I'll show you what it looks like. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So what we did was we used the Google Maps API and we rigged up a few scripts so that the final output from the Pacioli network, which contains the name and address of each company, which allowed us to use that data to plot them on the map to visualize this, right?
Yeah.
And in case you're wondering, red is bad and blue is good, right? So in addition, we rigged it. It's connected to Google Earth as well. So this is cool. I like Google Earth better,
Yeah.
right?
So what's the difference between the red X's and the blue checks?
So the blue checks didn't have anything wrong with them, but I need to just say that not all of the controls were run, right? So if we include all 9 categories of controls, these might be red, right? And to give everybody a comparison, when you file financial statements with the SEC, there's only like 3 groups of these controls that are actually used that you're required to comply with just in order for the SEC to accept the filing of the instance document, right? We use a total of 9 categories of controls because
Right.
we detect stuff that doesn't get detected by conventional financial reporting software. So the red dots indicate that there was an issue. So if you click the red dot, here is the dialog that pops up on the top right.
Okay.
Contains a link to the actual output analysis, right? So this company's in here, most people haven't even heard of, but if we zoom into New York, we'll be able to find some. New York has a lot of companies whose corporate headquarters are.
And there's probably a range of violations in terms of like severity. Like, how do I think about the types of violations?
So what we looked for in this phase of testing were violations of basic fundamental accounting concepts, right? And you'd be shocked to know that 83 balance sheets that were filed with the SEC as of September 30th, 2022, 83.
80, well, 83 were
83
what?
balance sheets did not balance.
Oh my word. How is it that they passed the filing, like the SEC's filing?
That's a really good question. So the purpose of this particular exercise and test, which we're going to be continuing, is to open up a public dialogue with members of the accounting, audit, financial reporting, and regulatory community, if they so dare, right?
Yeah.
To talk about how they specify standards for financial reporting, right? So,
But I would think balance sheets balancing is like table stakes.
yeah, that's just the most obvious things, right? When you get into, how companies treat leasing, right? Leasehold improvements. Leasing is really complicated accounting. And so,
And then to bring it to crypto,
well,
would any of the companies be be capable of even being run through this?
no, because they don't have financial statements, and whatever financial statements they do have, they output out of an accounting system, which that's not a financial statement.
Yeah.
I want to make this clear. These are US GAAP and IFRS compliant financial statements to the extent that they're compliant, because as you can plainly see, there's a ton of them that have violated just basic fundamental accounting concepts, right?
That's stunning.
There's Estee Lauder. You have products from Estee Lauder.
I
All,
do.
all women. I have products from Estee Lauder, right?
And Tilray, I mean, that's a pretty heavily traded company. Are
Yeah,
you able to show an example of a report?
of an output. Yes, but I have to go through. I have to go through a different interface. Right? Let's do Accenture.
Are you saying the company that typically does other people's reporting fail themselves to pass basic financial fundamental? Are you
Worse,
saying that?
worse. Accenture creates controls over financial reporting. They come into a Fortune 500 company and they seat consultants that attenuate controls and implement new controls and install accounting systems and HR systems, ERP systems. And
Let's
lo
see
and
their report.
lo
Where
and
did they
behold,
fail?
lo and behold, they violated fundamental accounting concepts themselves, right? So here it is. This is Accenture, and here is a consistency rule for fundamental accounting concepts that they violated, which is right down here. So if I click this, and forgive the interface, this is a developer interface. It exposes every data point raw. This is not what the public is going to. It's what the public's going to use is much nicer than this. So here, there's a difference of $83,736,000 in this particular consistency rule that binds two different facts together, right? And those facts
Unbelievable.
are governed by a net income loss, which is a tag for the fact. The income loss from continuing operations after tax, you can read this, right? Which is 5.9 billion, 5.99 billion, right? And then you've got another fundamental accounting concept, income loss from discontinued operations, which was zero. Extraordinary items of income, expense net of tax, which was zero. So it was these two facts, right, that were affected. Here's another one, right? The difference here was 6.5 million, but you got net income loss attributable to the parent plus the net income loss attributable to non-controlling interests.
So there's
these are detailed accounting concepts that are present in a lot of financial statements, right?
unbelievable.
There's another one, right? Comprehensive net. This is a difference of 83.7 million. Here are the three facts that played a role in the violation, and the accounting concepts related to them, right? So that's what you got, right?
So how is it possible? How is this possible that they can still file and fail?
Believe it or not, everyone is only concerned about passing the SEC's Edgar filing manual rules, which clearly don't stop you from filing if you have these issues. I mean, I just said that 83 balance sheets didn't balance.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
This is the integrity and reliability or lack thereof of the world's business and financial information, right?
Yeah.
So nobody's done this before. Nobody has created a map that plots them all on a map and color codes them, right?
Yeah.
So this is a different way to visualize this. This is horrible.
Unbelievable.
We've been testing this for over a year, right? So, and we've proven that it worked. And we've sought sanity from others. So,
from an investor standpoint, how can investors leverage this data?
Well, you can, when we launch it, you'll be able to use the platform to determine which elements of the financial statements can be relied upon and which can't. Now, someone at a BlackRock who might use this, or a large institutional investor, they might have to call the CFO or investor relations department and clear this up. What was the basis of the mistake? Are you going to restate? So, and again, we filtered this only on the basis of violation of fundamental accounting concepts.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other errors. Some of them are trivial. Some of them could be much worse, but this was the focus of the test, right? So there's 3,000 or so reports on the map out of a subset of a total of 7,777 within the scope of this particular test.
Amazing.
So, and there's 2 layers, right? Here is all of the companies that passed. So if you get all this link, you can filter it by looking at only the ones that passed.
Yeah.
Only the ones that failed, or both.
And
right?
what is the scale of Pacioli's capability? Like we did 3,000. And what's the scope of sort of geography? It's right now, is it US and UK based standards, or?
This is any company that has filed with the SEC under either US GAAP or IFRS. So clearly, any company outside the United States is going to use the IFRS reporting standard.
Okay.
Right?
Fascinating.
So
this link is publicly available. Jason has posted a post on LinkedIn. If anybody is curious about this data or how Pacioli works, you know, feel free to contact us and learn more. Anything else you want to share about this data? And what, you know, when?
The goal is really to demonstrate proof of state, right? The goal is to demonstrate proof of state. You know, everybody's heard of proof of reserves by now, but there are very vocal critics of proof of reserves. Jesse from Kraken is one of them.
Yeah.
I'm a complete proof of reserves bewails the institution of human intelligence and just completely
And maybe share what you mean by proof of state for the folks that didn't see our podcast last week.
Proof of state. So an operating entity, the way we look at it is, we look at it from a computer science perspective. They are state machines, right? So the concept of materiality goes away, because in a state machine, whether it's a penny or $1 billion, one input triggers 3 or more outputs, right?
Yeah.
When you include changes in equity, then it's 4 outputs, right? Because you have an impact on all 4 financial statements. To contrast, proof of reserves is just proving that there is a balance in a custody environment. That's not proof of anything.
Yeah.
Right? So proof of state includes all transactions that occurred under the roof of the operating entity whose state is being proven. And the way it's proved is the Pacioli nodes gang up and come to consensus on state.
Yeah.
Right? So if you understand how a blockchain or a state machine works, we're, assuming there's an implementation, of course. This is not just plug and play. There's a little bit, there's some involvement. But We're turning an operating entity into a blockchain, its auditors into its miners or external validators, and its all four of its financial statements into its block explorer. And it's all cryptographically linked all the way back to where transactions occur, both in a custody environment and in the operating environment. And that's how a blockchain works. It's proven all the way back to Genesis.
And you last week had talked about the inadequacy of proof of reserves versus proof of state, which I think you had flagged, 4 different areas that include sort of P&L. Can you maybe speak to just those areas that you think make a complete report?
You have a P&L statement, you have a balance sheet, you have a cash flow statement, and you have a statement of changes in stockholders' equity. That doesn't mean who owns the stock.
Yeah.
Right? It's cash provided by financing activities, cash used in financing activities, cash provided by operating activities, cash used in operating activities, right? There's all these things. And it's the equity statement and the cash flow statement illustrate changes in state. Your balance sheet is the end state, as of instant, right? So what users are going to be able to do is pull the instant on demand and prove financial state, right? It's also based on a control environment. So controls have to get implemented, and it has to be known that new controls are implemented in order to anticipate and make adjustments for additional finite changes in state. Right?
Yeah.
That's how a state machine works. All corporations, all operating entities are state machines. And they're constantly undergoing changes in state. And those state changes need to be validated.
Well, hopefully this will change moving forward. We can get the attention of these organizations and or regulators that folks have an incomplete view of at least 35% of these organizations that had filed a financial report, right?
It's up to CFAs and other accountants to examine them. We have the machinery for them to use.
Yeah.
Our job is to put it out there, open a public dialogue, get people to use it, especially centralized exchanges.
Yeah.
Let the community audit the operating entity and validate changes in state.
Well, on that note, we'll bring episode 11 to a close. And, anybody who is interested, we'll post the link below so you can take a look at the map, and feel free to contact us if you want to hear more, learn more. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Yoli.